Hey crypto fans, welcome back here with more news on the Bitcoin. Today we're looking at the bigger update. As I told you on the previous couple of videos that the price is going to rise, and well, that's what we are actually seeing right now. But we're going into the news. What do we have here? Bitcoin is one of Africa's greatest hopes. While the continent of Africa is considered poor by most Western standards, the reality is that Africa is one of the wealthiest continents on Earth when measured by the resources that exist within it. Africa arguably possesses more diverse and abundant resources than any other continent, and Africa is not only the cradle of humanity but also considered by many historians to be the birthplace of mathematics, language, engineering, metallurgy, art, medicine, social structure, governance, agriculture, and philosophy. And despite its rich history and abundant resources, Africa remains the poorest continent in the world per capita. Centuries of colonial exploitation, internal conflicts, and corruption contribute to this wealth disparity. Old-fashioned slavery and colonialism gave way too much more underhanded form of control, monetary colonialism. As before colonial powers took control of Africa, it was large landmass with tribes who lived off the land. European colonial powers split up Africa's landmass with artificial borders which formed the nations we know of today. These nations split up the tribes and created conditions that make it impossible for Africans to trade with anyone outside of these borders, and they cannot travel freely from one country to another. They cannot trade with one another due to the burdensome tariffs set by European internationally to make their exports uncompetitive on the market, as Africans can't even send money from one country to another, as the money needs to pass through several Western intermediaries who extract hefty fees, and Africans can't easily get dollar or euros, as European banks intercept dollars and euros and pass along even worse fiat currencies to the Africans, currencies like CFA franc, which is not accepted anywhere outside of West Africa and which can only be printed by the French central bank. When the French need valuable resources from Africa, they print up CFA francs and they exchange them for scarce valuable resources like uranium, manganese, cobalt, oil, gas, cocoa, and coffee. As Western powers has set up a control structure designed to keep Africans poor in order to continue raping the continent for its precious resources. Western powers are looting the richest continent on Earth in exchange for printed pieces of paper with the faces of dead presidents on them. This has been going on for centuries, and eventually this too shall pass. Enter Bitcoin. Africans do not need to settle for worthless fiat. Now that Bitcoin exists, they can begin exchanging valuable resources for scarce hard money. They don't need to wait for their governments to adopt the Bitcoin standard, because no one needs permission to use Bitcoin. Bitcoin opens up trade in Africa too, because Bitcoin knows no borders. And if Africa can unite and develop the infrastructure to extract and process its minerals, it could start demanding Bitcoin for its valuable resources, as Bitcoin adoption would help to liberate Africa from monetary slavery and selling precious resources and refined products to the entire world in exchange for the hardest money ever discovered in formula for Africa to regain its former glory. Next on the radar is expecting to see tons of altcoin ETF filings for quality projects during coming bull market. As the Bitcoin ETF filing was just the beginning, the madness will start once the mass altcoin ETF filings start from BlackRock and other big companies. Bitcoin miners are melting up today. This is the beginning of the massive short squeeze across the board. As some of are lagging a bit, but they will catch up. The playbook is to sit back, only add on red days, and enjoy astronomical returns over the next 6 months. As updated Bitcoin conferences and events for 2024, let me know if there need to be any updates. Total of 65 so far. Huge props to all the plebs, organizers, artists, developers, and who are making this happen. Here we could see that probably every single explanation. So if you want to check it out, you can just go to this person's official Twitter, and because it's just a huge list that you should check out by yourself. It's a lot of conferences and a lot of information and stuff and events on the Bitcoin if you want to join them in the near future. probably this 2024 year. What is the meaning of crypto? Fiat money is the absolute lie and not sound money. That's why a peer-to-peer electronic cash system was brought onto the market in 2009. But Bitcoin fails to fulfill it because of the outdated blockchain. Caspa came and completed it. In my eyes, Caspa has won for a long time and will absorb the value of the whole world. And as breaking news we go, numerous instances of non-compliance in the cryptocurrency sector are causing harm to many individuals, making it challenging for honest participants to thrive, states SEC Chair Gary Gensler. As I'm not interested in convincing you to buy Bitcoin, I don't care if you buy it, whether you buy it or not is up to you. My goal is to make sure that you understand Bitcoin and see how many of your problems it can solve. The only way to do that is to study Bitcoin, and if you ever thought about retiring, Bitcoin can be a great way to get there much faster than the traditional asset markets. This is only because the majority of people have not figured out how it works yet and they haven't put in time to understand it. I think one Bitcoin is worth infinite USD and most people will ignore it until it's worth $1 million plus. I don't know a single person who truly understands Bitcoin and hasn't bought it. A lot of myths from people who don't understand Bitcoin are easily debunked. If you don't understand Bitcoin, you won't be able to think about how it can help you. Most people think it's a security like a stock. They reject the idea of censorship-resistant, decentralized money before they even fully understand it. They think it can be manipulated, they think government control it, they think nerds can shut it down. Bitcoin is a digital commodity, nobody controls it, nobody owns it, no single person or group can change it. Most importantly, nerds cannot shut it down. Bitcoin's utility isn't transferring, storing, and accounting for value without a trusted third party. Bitcoin's future is not decided by any single institution or person, it's decided by a market as a whole. So, Bitcoin allows anyone to transact or save for their future without getting permission from banks or their government. That's huge. Bitcoin incentivizes miners to protect the network and rewards for them for finding better ways to produce energy and reduce environmental impact over time. This is the best form of money that we have, and yet most people think it's a scam because they don't understand it. If you have any questions whatsoever about what Bitcoin is, where it's going, and how it can possibly fail, comment below. It took me almost 3 years of studying to finally get where this is actually going. Bitcoin has averaged $19 million in fees over the past week, outshining Ethereum's figure of $14 million. This shift can be attributed to the surge in inscriptions and ordinals, which have significantly driven up transaction costs. And a similar, albeit brief, dynamic was observed during the inscription frenzy in May 2023 when Bitcoin fees exceeded Ethereum's for a fleeting period of 3 to 4 days, marking it as an anomaly rather than a consistent trend. So that's kind of all the news we got on the Bitcoin today. There's a lot more stuff to discuss, which we're going to discuss in the next video for today, and a lot of information will be discussed in it because a huge adoption by countries starts right now, and banks might start an adoption in the US too after confirming that the Bitcoin ETF is finally approved. That's just the start. Big companies arrive, banks arrive, big countries arrive, and it's only the start for Bitcoin. We think that it's already over, but it's just the start position that we are here on. So you need to buy a Bitcoin, but first of all when it drops, because it will for sure drop a little bit and you will buy it, and finally try to own around the 1 Bitcoin at least. See you in the next one, and peace.